Hello, fifth graders. Miss Boughton back once again with how to summarize part 2. So, yesterday we talked about how to summarize and what a summary is. So, again, just as review, what is a summary? A summary is a condensed or short retelling of a text. So you can summarize pretty much anything. You can summarize a TV show, you can summarize a video game, a movie, and when we're summarizing text, you can again summarize pretty much anything from an entire chapter book to chapters in a book. You can summarize a nonfiction text, you can summarize a fiction text, a short story, a picture book, and you can even summarize sections of text. So there's no limit to things that you can really summarize at this point. And as way of review, we need to make sure that we are doing these 4 things when we're writing a summary. So they are, once again, use your own words. It's important that you're not copying word for word from the text, but you're using your own words. Then make sure you're not writing any more than 3 to 5 sentences. Your summary is going to depend on the amount of details that you're getting out of the text and how long the text is, but you don't want it to be as short as like a main idea, and you don't want it to be as long as an entire page. So 3 to 5 sentences. Now, we want to make sure that when we're writing a summary, you're only retelling the important parts. There's going to be lots of parts in a story or in a text or in a movie, but we only need the important ones in our summary. So we want to make sure that we're including those main ideas and key details. So we've talked a lot about main ideas and key details over the past year. So we're going to want to take those after we've identified them and include them in our summary. So we also talked about 2 methods or ways to collect details for our summaries. And those 2 methods to gather details, the first one, which we practiced yesterday, was the 5 W's. Who, what, when, where, and why. Say it with me. Who, what, when, where, why. So these 5 W's can be used to gather information about a text, who it's about, what it's about or what's going on, when it's happening, where it's happening, and why. So those are 5 things we can pull out of a text that can help us write a summary. Now, this is going to be useful for informational texts or nonfiction texts, facts about places and things and people, but it can also be used for short stories and fiction texts as well. The other method that we are going to focus on today that you should have watched a short video about is somebody wanted, but so then. So today we're going to focus on writing a summary for chapter 4 of When a Ghost Talks, Listen. So again, I'm going to stop here, pause, wait. If you have not read or listened to Chapter 4 of When a Ghost Talks, Listen, Stop. Don't go any further in this video. Go back, listen to it, answer the questions, and then come back and complete this video. Okay, you've been warned. So today we're going to focus on somebody wanted, but so then. Let's go ahead and get into that. So, somebody wanted, but so then. In that video that you watched by somebody who you might know, it talked about how the somebody is, so who are we talking about? Who is the story about? Who are we focusing on? And then what did they want? So somebody wanted something. What did they want? But is the delay or the problem that gets in the way of them getting what they want. So they do something to get around it, to go around it, to try and solve their problem. And then is the what happens after they have gotten what they wanted. Now we are going to do that today for chapter 4 of When a Ghost Talks, Listen. So again, we're looking for somebody, the somebody from chapter 4, what they wanted, but, so, and then. And much like the 5 W's, You may not always be able to answer every single one of these every time you're reading a chapter or a section of a text. If we were reading a whole book, we could answer all of these, or a whole text, we could answer all of these. But because we're only reading a chapter of the book and summarizing that chapter, we may not be able to answer all of these, but we are going to do our best. So let's start off with the first one, somebody. If you had to say, who is the somebody in chapter 4, who would that be? The somebody definitely was Pushmataha and Isaac. I also included Naomi and Joseph because they do come in later in chapter, but the most important two characters were definitely Pushmataha and Isaac. Now, when we talk about wanted, when we look back on the chapter, the only person who really wants anything is Pushmataha. And we really find out what that is at the end or towards the end of the chapter. So, if we think about it, he referenced a lot about learning. Even at the beginning, he talked about and asked that question of Isaac, well, what did you learn or what have you learned? So, what he really wanted was for Isaac, Naomi, and Joseph to learn, and he wanted them to learn from the past, hence why they traveled to the past to watch his funeral, and then are going to travel to the past again. The but. Did you find a but in this chapter? I didn't really see anything that prevented them from traveling into the past. Even though Joseph and Naomi were both living people, they were still able to travel into the past. So they haven't hit any delays or bumps in the road so far. So I'm going to leave the but part blank because there's not really anything that proves to be an obstacle to them at this moment. So Pushmataha wants them to learn from the past. So what do? They go ahead and travel back to the past. Now, we don't get into the details of where and what they are going to go see just yet, but we know that what they do is go travel into the past because he talks to them and kind of like briefs them about what they can and can't do in the past. The then portion of this we also won't be able to answer because they haven't achieved their goal. They didn't get what they wanted just yet. They haven't learned from the past, and so we don't know what their experience is. So we cannot answer the then part either. But we definitely can come up with a summary from these details that we're able to pull from the text. So if I had to write a summary for chapter 4, it might sound something like this. Isaac and Pushmataha returned to the present after watching Pushmataha's funeral. Now, we didn't get that from the somebody wanted but so then section, but I knew that that was an important part of the chapter because when we start the chapter, that's where they are. And then they travel back to the present. So we could have added that to the so, but I thought that we could leave it more simple this time. So I tell you what happened at the very beginning of the chapter. And then the next sentence says, Pushmataha still wants Isaac to learn an important lesson. So we reference that learning a lesson in the next sentence and what he wants. And then I add in the Joseph and Naomi part. They get Joseph and Naomi to travel with them into the past so they can learn from what has happened. So I didn't want to repeat that word past again. I've already talked about the past now a few times. So I just switched up my wording. Again, I'm using my own words. So if I read all that together, I get Isaac and Pushmataha returned to the present after watching Pushmataha's funeral. Pushmataha still wants Isaac to learn an important lesson. They get Joseph and Naomi to travel with them into the past so they can learn from what happened. So we get the somebody, we get what he wanted, and we also get the so. And those three pieces of information fit nicely into 3 sentences and a nice short little summary of chapter 4. Hope you guys found it informational. Go ahead and fill out the form after this. All right, see you next time, guys.